So Losing Earth is the story of the birth of the climate movement politically. It's the story of a few people within Washington who, beginning in 1979, after scientific consensus had been established on the fundamental science of climate change, tried to move the issue from scientific journals to national and international policy. And despite some setbacks, they managed to get almost all of the way there. They, by the end of the decade, there was a solution, what was seen as a solution in place, a global treaty to reduce carbon emissions with binding targets. And there was major legislation introduced in Congress, some of which was more ambitious than even the Green New Deal today. And at the last minute, after a political fight within the George H.W. Bush White House, the U.S. withdrew from the international framework, and shortly thereafter, the oil and gas industry began its propaganda campaign, its funding of denialism, and its effort to buy off the politicians and then ultimately a whole political party to thwart any effort at climate change. And so, in retrospect, it's the closest we've come as a nation and really as an international community to a meaningful solution. Yeah, I mean, the most surprising thing to me about my research was the fact that there's no conversation that we're having today in 2019 that wasn't being held in 1979, 1980. That's not only the scientific conversations about how much warming will occur and how much the seas will rise, but even some of the more speculative ideas about how to solve the issue, questions about geoengineering, certainly questions about how to help the developing world modernize and escape crushing poverty without resorting to heavy coal use and use of other fossil fuels. And I feel like there's an almost infantilistic way, it's an infantilistic way of talking about the issue that I think is in some ways a byproduct of the 3 decades now of climate denialism, that it's reduced the conversation, certainly within the US, to a kind of almost like an action hero movie. Are we going to win or are we going to lose? Will we save the day or suffer crushing defeat? I think the greatest reason for hope now is this fairly sudden and powerful new wave of activism that we've seen globally and also within the US. What's striking is not only the force of it, but the tonal register, the language that's being used is very different. There's been a profound shift in the activism around the issue. It finally becomes, it's insane not to act. And that's true, but it's not really what you're hearing from the new activists. They say, they'll say that, but the emphasis is on a more urgent, personal, and emotional plea, which I think is frankly a more honest plea, which is to say, usually this is directed at older generations. Your inaction is killing us. Your inaction is robbing us of our future, of our basic rights, and that if we allow this to persist, we are betraying the most fundamental values that we claim as the basis for our society. And that's a very different argument, and I think it's a more powerful one, and I think it has the chance to be more powerful politically as well. You are the leaders on this. I wouldn't presume to give you strategic advice. I think I'm hugely impressed with the work that you are doing, that's being done. And I think the most valuable aspect of it is this pairing of a legal argument with a moral argument. Not only is it illegal not to protect the advances we've made and to try to take greater action, but our failure to do so is undermining who we are as a people, as a state, and of course as a global community as well. And I think the pairing of the moral argument with the legal argument cannot be easily dismissed, and I think will be hugely powerful in the years ahead.